Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Emma and this channel was essentially started because of one game, and that is Animal Crossing. But recently I have seen crazy Tiny Glade builds popping up here and there, and I'm definitely not at that level yet. But I thought a nice way to dip my toe into the game would be to replicate some of my favorite Animal Crossing buildings in the game. And then I got a little bit carried away and kind of created a little bit of a village. So I'm going to show you exactly what I did today. Don't forget to like and also subscribe, but let's get to the building. So the first place I decided to start with my little village was obviously resident services, or the plaza area. This is kind of the central hub of Animal Crossing New Horizons, so it felt like the correct place to start. So I first off went in with the main kind of structure and then just added in the kind of front bit. I decided to raise this bit up because it has this kind of doorway that kind of sticks out. So I decided to go with that. I will pop up a picture of what resident services looks like just for you and kind of reference. And then once we finish, we can kind of compare at the end. But then I also decided to add in the floor. It kind of worked better doing it this way because if I had done it the opposite way, it kind of makes like arches, and I don't want arches. And then the little bit that kind of overlaps, that bit has to have a floor as well. I'm going to make those into steps in a little bit as well, just to kind of give it that kind of, it does have steps out the front, so when you put path down with the kind of platforms, it creates these steps, which is kind of perfect. And then I could have kind of built the whole plaza area up with the bricks and the platforms, but I decided instead we're going for a dirt. So it's kind of combining your starter resident services with the more built up resident services. And then after doing all of the structure, I remembered that there is kind of a little clock tower. Unfortunately, we can't place clocks. I would love to be able to place a clock up here, but instead I decided to go for a window, and then the roof just wasn't looking quite right. So we just made a little bit of finessing there, but it's kind of having that kind of key kind of shape and appearance right now. I'm not 100% sold on the pillars, so we might change that up in a little bit, but the colors are what really helps. And of course you need a flag and the little bulletin board, which is over here, and then resident services actually also has some lights. And at this point I was like, no, we need to add proper pillars. Unfortunately, the round ones don't go any smaller than this, so it is going to be a little bit chonky, but we'll just embrace it and hopefully maybe it will turn out okay. This little roof looked a little bit skewiff, but definitely these are kind of the pillars that we're going for. Later on, after doing all of this, I did realize that there was a way that I could have done them to make smaller pillars, but I'll show you that when it comes to doing the museum. So this is just me kind of finessing this. I decided it need to kind of extend this whole porch area just so it didn't just look like pure pillars. So you can kind of see the gap into the door and you get that little bit of orange poking through from the wall. So it's pretty much done now. This is my resident services. It looks pretty resident services like. Let me know if you think I could have made any changes to this to make it look more like resident services, but I don't think it's too shabby. Let's go on to the next build. So the next build I wanted to tackle was, of course, Nook's Cranny. What would an Animal Crossing inspired build be without Nook's Cranny? So of course we're going to start off with a pretty square building. It's kind of rectangular, so this works nicely, and the roof is kind of tilting backwards. And then the doors were kind of quite easy. I just wanted to, I do wish you could make these ones a bit taller. You can seem to do it with the other ones, but not these. And then added in a little platform, which of course just messed up the height of the doors. So I had to bring them all up and move them all around. There is a few steps at the front of Nook's Cranny, but not that many. So I had to alter that as well. And then brought the door up, changed the windows a little bit. I think the windows are pretty good. They're pretty good for what Nook's Cranny actually looks like. Yeah, this was me fighting the doors. I did decide to just go for the two, and then the shovel kind of was perfect. I don't know why I didn't keep that. I should have definitely kept the shovel. And then I just played around with what we could get out front of the windows, and the little plants kind of worked as well, so that's good. Added in a little bit of a path, and then my next kind of issue was how am I going to make that kind of shop sign. So I went in with another building and just wanted to have it like poking out the top of the roof. Obviously we don't want that back there. That's not a party in the back situation. We don't need that. And then I was like, how can I use the sign to make it look like there's a bit of a sign up top? but this wasn't quite working for me, but it did give me an idea for having the bunting along the top of the door, which of course is a staple for Nook's Cranny. So I decided to add these little kind of holes in. They're like archery like holes, I believe, but I feel like it kind of works a little bit for kind of giving the idea that there is some text up there. And I recolored it red just to kind of give in that Nook's Cranny color text vibe. So there we have it. The colors definitely make all the difference, I think, for this build. And then I just decided to add the path in. At this point, I thought it was just going to be like random little builds, but no, I decided to connect things. So with Nook's Cranny out of the way, it was time to have a look at doing Able Sisters, which is another cute little building. It's slightly different shape. So we're going to have to play around with the roofs, I think, here, because it has the kind of two intersecting roofs, which is kind of cool. So I went in with more like of a vertical, horizontal, opposite direction building. I can't think of what the correct term is right now, but yeah, so we went in for this one, and then that's kind of the right shape. I feel I did play around with it a little bit, but I think it does have like that little bit of a gap kind of sticking out, and then I just wanted to smooth it off a little bit. I didn't want any kind of edges sticking out too much, so just had to make sure that that wasn't too bad. And then I did go for a little window. Obviously Able Sisters has quite a big window here, so we added that in, raised it up a little bit because it was looking a little bit short, and amended the roof as well. To make it flow a bit, I had to kind of shrink down the secondary building so it didn't kind of poke out the top, which it definitely shouldn't do that. And then this was the door. I wanted a bigger door again, and that kind of worked. And then because there is a sign out front of Able Sisters, I decided to try and use the bunting as well. There's a little bit of green bunting at the bottom, and then there is a sign on top as well, which I don't think I'm going to be able to do the sign, but at least I can do the bunting, she says. She says. This was a little bit of a struggle trying to get it right. I just wanted to use the triangles by themselves, just because I think that they're the right height. For the sign, this was the best I could come up with, so I used kind of a similar technique to what I did on the last build, and I quite like the way that the kind of little pillars stuck out, because there is a few different colours with the Able Sisters. Like, it goes red, white, and it has the different colours there, so I thought this was a good opportunity to do that. The blue wasn't really coming through because I wanted it to have a blue sign to match the text, but it wasn't really coming through all that well. But I did get the green flags, and I did go for this blue colour for the roof, but it wasn't quite right. I was thinking maybe it's kind of a bit green, but it definitely didn't turn out the color I wanted it to, so I made it a darker green. I don't think this is a totally accurate color, but we'll go for it anyway. And Able Sisters does have a little chimney coming out the top, so obviously we added that. And then I just went in with some path just to clear up some of the bushes out front. The bushes were kind of nice, but you can't get furniture that close in Able Sisters to, like, in Animal Crossing, to buildings, so I was like, this isn't accurate, so we had to delete that. And then I decided at this point, let's do a little bit of terraforming. Let's add a little bit of fencing. There is fencing in Animal Crossing. Would I place it like this? Maybe not, but it looks cute in this game, so I decided to do that. And obviously some trees. Fruit trees would be amazing. I then went crazy with some flowers and decided that I hated it, so we removed them, although they do kind of look like the purple hyacinths from Animal Crossing, which is kind of cool. And some more trees over here just to kind of help finish it off, and some fencing as well. I decided to add some fencing around Nook's Cranny just to keep Timmy and Tommy in. We shouldn't release them out into the wild, so they need to be belonging in there. And then I was thinking about doing my museum, and I was like, where are we going to do this? So I tried to figure out which was the best area, and I thought back here might be good. Gives us lots of space, so went in with the path. The path is really easy to use in this game. Sometimes I do wish it was a bit squarer in some places, but it's fine. I also decided to add in a little pond because ponds are in Animal Crossing, so you can do fishing and catch a goldfish as you do. So this is the museum. The museum has quite a distinct roof, and that's definitely going to play part of this, I think, for making it look right. But the problem is with the museum roof, it kind of sticks out in front of the main building, and then it has pillars. So I had to get my thinking cap on as to how I was going to do this. So I decided to go in with another structure, and this was kind of, in the air, so it's on top of the main building, and I wanted it to poke out. So doing this was a little bit tricky just to make it line up with the base building, I will call it. We don't want any sticky out edges out the back. So I did kind of finesse it, and getting things lined up was a little bit tricky, but I think we got there in the end. This roof, I kind of feel like if it didn't have the tiered bricks on the front, it would have been absolutely perfect, because the tiered bricks don't actually change color to match the roof, which is a little bit of a shame, but I'm trying not to be too picky. This is a very different game to Animal Crossing, so things are not going to look at all similar. And then I used the walls this time, and in hindsight, maybe this is what I should have done for resident services. This is what I did to create those iconic pillars that are at the front of the museum. And yeah, maybe they're not perfect. Maybe I could have spent a little bit more time making them that little bit neater, but they're a little bit fiddly. I'm not going to lie, a little bit fiddly, but they do the job. And hey, maybe Blathers needs to have a makeover. He needs to have a renovation of his pillars. But yeah, these are kind of how it looks. And then that one definitely is a bit wonky, but hey, the roof still wasn't looking quite right to me. I don't know why this roof was so picky. I was going to use the banner to kind of signify the emblem that's on the top of resident services, but then I was like, oh no, I can use these for the sides, because there is obviously that red bit that pokes down from resident services. And again, I do wish the door was bigger. The lights, they are actually on the pillars, but I thought they're not going to go on there, so we'll just put them here. And then this was me just experimenting. So instead of a circle, there's actually some sort of window. It needed something up there just to show like it was how it is in the actual game. And obviously the iconic blue roof, and then I just went about changing all of the pillars to the white. This bit was sticking out, we can't be having that, so I did just try and fix that a bit. And obviously needed to finish off making these pillars a little bit of a different color. There we go. So it does, I think it does do a pretty good job. As I said, I do wish the blue from the roof was a little bit more kind of pops a little bit, because that is a signature for the museum. I could have had it the other way, but this is really how the roof looks. So there we go. There's the museum and also Able Sisters. So the final thing I wanted to do was actually recreate like a resident rep home. So I decided to put it over in this corner here. Obviously we need a little bit of a path going towards it. My inspo, there's so many different like resident rep homes you could do. There's so many variations, but I wanted to do the kind of more traditional one, which is like, you know, when you have all of your upgrades on your like first house. So that's kind of the inspiration for this one. Hence why we've got that back bit, and then this bit kind of pokes forward. And then we have the nice door in the middle, and that main design actually has two little lights there. I've never really noticed it before, that you could have the two little lanterns there, and then they have two cute little windows. And if I was to go with any color, I think I would have gone for green as my starter home. And that one, I'm kind of imagining the one with the like beams going up, and thankfully you can also do that in this game. So this was super easy to do. All you had to do then was put like a little chimney on it, and I think it looked kind of effective. I think it looks very similar, and it just makes a cute home. And then obviously we need to add in some little trees as well, and a little bit of fencing just to finish off the area. So here is what my finished mini kind of Animal Crossing town looks like. We have Nook's Cranny over there looking really cute with its little kind of blue roof and the little details there. Then we obviously have resident services in the main plaza area. Able Sisters over here looking adorable. It does look a little empty. It could do with some more. If this was my Animal Crossing island, it would be cluttered, so cluttered. And then if we head back over here, here is the museum. I think you can kind of tell it is the ACNH museum, and I hope Blathers would be at home here. I do hope he would be. And then round here, we obviously have the little resident rep home, which is where I would live. I would happily live in this little cottage. Everything in this game is so cute, and I really don't think you can like do anything wrong. But starting off with these little builds is definitely going to be helpful for me for when I try and tackle bigger things. But this was just a little bit of fun, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.